Well, you tagged an old geezer this year. Thank you. I especially thank the faculty and people who had confidence enough in me to be recognized with this award. I'm more pleased than you can imagine. I'm also humbled by the recognition and from the list of many wonderful people that you see as recipients of this award. It makes me even more honored. I'm especially proud of that my wife Helen, my friend and partner for 59 years, she's an alum as well, Peabody 71. She's here to help us celebrate. The dean is right. It has been almost exactly 50 years since I stood very near here, right on this spot. There was just this building. There was nothing behind it. To receive my doctorate from Peabody College. And it has been the most wonderful passport I ever received in my life, and I want to tell you about it. It's a signature, and it's the key to a long and what I think has been a happy career. It's brought many rewards, and your diploma will bring you many rewards as well. I hope you realize that. There's no higher reward than that which you have shared with me today, and I appreciate it deeply. I now join the long list of trusted alumni and members of the long procession of educators that was contemplated by George Foster Peabody to make education strong in service to the South, to the nation, and to the world. The dean is correct. Peabody has a global impact. I can tell you that over 50 years, I have never been to a place that had not heard about Peabody and did not recognize its strength and its importance, and many times it gave me more cachet than I may have deserved. And I think the recipients of the diplomas today will realize that. And now, full disclosure. When I first applied to Peabody in 1958, Helen and I were not sure where it was. We were hunting for the largest fellowship available, and there were no websites and no Google. Being rural Western New York Yankees, we thought surely that Peabody must be in Boston. So we pursued our search. The fellowship was a whopper then, $1,800. We wanted the best, and money talks. We had 3 kids and few savings, and I still had my GI Bill that I had not used it for $1,200, so we were looking at a bonanza here. I also had fond memories as a young fellow of listening to Grand Ole Opry on WSM Saturday nights, and I was deeply in love with Patsy Cline. So Peabody and Nashville were it. After I was admitted to what was then called the Mental Retardation Doctoral Program with the great fellowship, I received the first of what was a long line of notes over the years from Nick Hobbs. Mr. Stedman had said, "Please come by my office when you get here." Oh boy, I'm not even there yet, and I am in trouble. That visit was my first introduction to Nick Hobbs, one of the greatest men that ever walked this planet. He taught me that my problems are mine to solve, a new experience for me then. All of Peabody was that kind of experience, a caring community of smart and friendly people who shared what they knew without making you compete for it, but asked that you stay in charge, that you be creative and step up, and that you work as a team. This isn't just about me or my experience here. I hope this has been your experience too. That you have found that true teaching is a moral act, not simply a transfer of knowledge. It is a firm but gentle guide to understanding and patient interactions between people that change both in the process and for which both are responsible. All of my life, I've been fortunate to encounter and learn from individuals who have impressed and changed my way of thinking or my behavior. All of us have that experience, I hope. Among these are my father, who never completed high school, but who was very successful in business, and my mother, who was both a teacher and a principal at Beaver Meadow School that had 14 students in a rural county. Graduate in 1928 of Buffalo Normal School, so I had teaching in my genes. My mother introduced me after my award here in 1962 as my son the doctor. That'll happen to you folks as well. After Peabody, there was Nancy Bailey at Berkeley, Nick Anastasio at Duke, Sergeant Shriver in Washington, Terry Sanford and William Friday in North Carolina. But no experience in my life exceeded the impressions on me than that of the people here at Peabody. Hobbs, Gray, Dunn, Cromwell, Rhodes, Norris, Cantor, Ashcroft, Ellis, and many others. These may be names on buildings, labs, and wall plaques to you. They were real people to me. Along the way, Nick Hobbs taught me the principle of just manageable difficulty. He had a different definition of what JMD meant. Just manageable difficulty means taking on responsibility at every turn, engaging widely in many roles, adopting the habit that your plate is much larger than you think, and the less time you have to work with, the more you get done. Today it would be probably considered a form of adult ADD. I believe that everyone's plate is much larger than they think, and I have followed the Hobbs principle of JMD, as many of my colleagues have. J.R. Newbrough is here. He has followed it, as I've observed. There's much lost productivity in self-limiting behavior. Susan Gray helped me to understand that no program or practice ever becomes an activity of national significance without first having been a local success. Head Start didn't start in Washington, it started in Murfreesboro. Rue Cromwell gave me my clinical skills and prepared me for my days of practice at Duke. I think of him every time I see a child in need. And Lloyd Dunn and Sam Ashcroft introduced me to the wide range of children with special needs and the work with them that has helped all children and teachers. And my fellow students included Al Ballmeister, Earl Butterfield, Jan Kohlberg, Paul Dokecki, who I had the pleasure of meeting yesterday again, Wolf Wolfensberger, and many others. So my Peabody experience was with strong teachers, supportive mentors, caring people. They were not just ordinary faculty members and fellow students. They were important new parts of my life. I hope and trust that you have had similar experiences in your time here and will offer that experience to others as you move on. Peabody is a very special place. I was here twice, once as a student and again as a faculty member. I left a bit reluctantly, but North Carolina called me home for the next 40 years of my professional life. And a career that I think has been very satisfying. I hope some good has been done along the way. If so, it was in very large part because of the tools Peabody provided me, what I call the Peabody Toolkit. The tools were given to me by the people I mentioned. This is your toolkit too, and this is your faculty. And it's part of the Peabody legacy. There are at least 3 tools that I took away. They're very important ones I recommend to you. It's all about relationships. This is a people world, whether you're teaching or learning. It's important to maintain good relationships and stay connected. It's all about caring about what you do. If you get up in the morning and you don't want to go to work, you're in the wrong job. It's all about not worrying about who gets the credit. Sharing is important to move ahead. Now, how you build on your experience here and move on depends on how well you use your Peabody Toolkit. You may not fully appreciate how special this place is until you have left it, but you will soon realize how fortunate you are to have been here. to have studied here and to have met and befriended many fine faculty, mentors, and colleagues. As a Peabody graduate, you will earn the respect and admiration of those who know colleges because you are a Peabody grad. You have had the experience and you now own the degree from one of the finest institutions of higher education on the planet. And now you can either grow or swell. Depending on your attitude, I hope you grow. Your future from here on is probably as uncertain as mine was 50 years ago. You can never really know what's ahead, and much of your career will be determined by external events. I have learned, for example, that 5-year plans mostly take 10 years to finish. And they don't always end up the way you intend. My generation dealt with civil rights issues, the impact of advances in science, space exploration, new advances in genetics, serial warfare, difficulty in getting along with neighbors who are not like us, and now we share a common economic threat to both your ability to someday retire and my ability to stay retired. As educators and professionals in the future, you will be called on to shape the debates and settle critical issues. Healthcare, the economy, immigration, environment, global workforce, and political issues and human rights. You will almost certainly be drawn into the education and school reform movement. It's part of the DNA of Peabody to engage in education and school reform. For decades, Peabody has been in the forefront of research on learning and teaching. The work of the Kennedy Center and the Peabody College have been the national focus on education and treatment of special needs children, both at the level of early identification, early intervention, and transition issues, as well as the establishment and analysis of education, teaching, and leadership policy. This work has benefited all children, and I am proud I was here at the center's beginning. It has become everything I had hoped and much more. So my studies and my work here and the people at Peabody forever altered my life's course. I did not know then just how much or in what way. I would guess that the same is true for you. The Peabody people who raised me are now gone. You have your own people. You appreciate the satisfaction of finishing, but it is not yet so clear about your new beginnings. There were fine scholars here that you encountered, like Dale Farron and others, fine leaders like Camilla Benbow. Each time you look at your diploma, remember that you are a student. The whole world is one big classroom, learning it, teaching it. Much of your life will be determined by events. Much of your career will depend on how well you use your Peabody toolkit. Most of your success will depend on your attitude to make things happen. Don't just go with the flow. The issues you will face will be no less complex, challenging, and exciting than those that my generation faced. But they will be different and perhaps more complicated. Be patient, keep your good humor, get a life, don't let your work be your life. Always value Peabody, this very special place.